can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and that means I won't be able to see you. So if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me or save them for the end or put them in the chat, okay? All right, so starting out, this is a male or female monarch. Who knows? Does anyone know?
I do.
Okay, tell me what it is and how you know.
Is this a male or female?
Female.
It's a male
It's a male, and how do we know it's a male?
because of the two dark spots on either side.
That's right, those two spots right there. And the next picture I'm going to show you actually shows you the male and the female next to each other. The female has much thicker black lines on it, but in nature, it's really hard to distinguish that. But you can always see those two black dots when they stop fluttering their wings. So that's how you tell the difference between a male and a female monarch butterfly. And they have an amazing journey, this insect, the monarch butterfly. They start out as an egg. The female monarch butterfly will lay hundreds of eggs in her lifetime. And she always, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you haven't started the slideshow. It's still on your page that has all of the other slides on the side, unless that's what you wanted.
No, I'm looking at the slideshow. So let's see. Let me go back. Let me go back to the beginning.
I'm seeing the slideshow, but it's not playing. It's the first slide.
Okay, so let me go back and see if I can start it over. So you're not seeing the slides change?
No, no, we're not. We're just seeing your
Okay.
screen of PowerPoint and with the other slides down the left-hand side.
Okay, let me do a new share and see if that helps. Do you see it now?
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
that worked.
All right. So I don't know how you were able to tell because that was the first picture. So you see here on the two different butterflies, one has a little bit thicker black lines and the male has the two dots. But like I said, in nature, it's very hard to spot whether or not those lines are thick or not. You know, when you see a butterfly to know if it's a male or female, I always look for those two dots and that's how I tell. So this amazing insect starts out as an egg, and the female monarch butterfly will lay hundreds of eggs, always underneath a milkweed leaf, only on milkweed, not on any other plant. And out of those hundreds of eggs, little caterpillars will come out. We also call them larvae or larva. And this caterpillar will stay on the milkweed and eat the leaves until it's so full that it outgrows its skin 4 times until it's ready to form a chrysalis. And after about 7 to 14 days, it comes out as an adult monarch butterfly. So let's look at it again. Here's the egg. Here's the little caterpillar coming out of the egg with hardly any skin at this point. The caterpillar turns around and eats the eggshell. So if you don't see it before it comes out, you won't be able to find that empty eggshell because it's gone. And then it starts eating the leaf and everything around it. So when I'm out in my garden looking for caterpillars, I look for these kind of holes because that's likely a caterpillar underneath that leaf. So you're looking at the bottom of the leaves here. And they just eat their way into a hole, and it makes it easier to find the eggs and the caterpillars. And there are 5 different sizes of caterpillars, and we call those the 5 instars. So each time it outgrows its skin, the skin actually falls off and there's a new skin underneath. So it goes from the first instar to the second, to the third, to the fourth, and then to the 5th. And when you get to the 5th instar, if you look at the different antenna, they start out with no antenna and then stubs, nubs, and then sticks. And then in the 5th instar, the caterpillar's antenna can actually touch the ground in front of it or the leaf in front of it. And that's how you know it's fully grown and it's ready to form its chrysalis. And it's about the size of a penny once it's fully grown. And then the next step is it hangs upside down in a J form. it creates this little bit of silk to attach itself to a leaf or a stick or a fence. And then it kind of wiggles around until the skin gets all the way to the top and it falls off, and underneath this chrysalis green shell forms. And you can see it here. It's a beautiful green color. And after about 7 days, you can start seeing the butterfly inside the chrysalis. And by the time the chrysalis is ready to snap open, then the butterfly pops out and hangs on the chrysalis until blood gets through the wings and it's dry enough to fly. And if we look at it again, this is a real picture of a chrysalis, and it looks like real gold on there. And somehow with these dots, you can tell if it's a male or a female. And I'm not quite good enough yet to know whether it's a male or a female from the chrysalis. I always have to wait until it comes out, and then I can tell whether I've got a male or a female. But here it is hanging in a J, a chrysalis, and then it comes out and just hangs here all shriveled up until the wings are dry, and then it's ready to fly. Monarch Watch is a wonderful organization that has been tracking the monarch butterflies over the last 20 years. And we've seen a decline by almost 80–90% of the monarchs in America and Canada. And the reason for the decline is loss of habitat. So I need everyone on this call and everyone in the United States and Canada to start planting milkweed plants so that we can get more monarchs into our population, and we will be more successful at saving the monarch butterfly. Because even if you have a small patch of milkweed, monarchs will find it and you will have caterpillars on your milkweed. So what we do at Monarch Sister Schools is we plant pollinator gardens, and those gardens can also be sensory gardens, and they can be vegetable gardens, or you can plant all three next to each other. So what we try to do is habitat restoration in the United States and Canada by planting gardens. And in Mexico, we plant gardens and we plant oyamel fir trees to reestablish the forests that are being taken away from the monarch's winter habitat. We do hands-on STEM activities to connect students to nature, and we also do those with art, and that's how we get STEAM out of STEM. And then we have a cultural exchange where students can talk to the students in Mexico about their environmental projects that they're doing. And we do this over Zoom and Skype, and we also do it with letters, pen pal letters and pen pal pictures. So you're looking here at a garden that I planted at Dunbar Middle School in Baltimore City. It's right near Johns Hopkins Hospital. And this was the garden the day we planted it, and all the rocks around the garden were found inside the area where we created the space, the garden, where we took away the grass. And they just used that for decoration. And then this is the garden about 2 months later, once it had a little bit of growth to it. They planted sunflowers around it, and they also put, these are upside down cabinets in the back, old kitchen cabinets. They popped out the back of the cabinet, they painted them, and then they put plants inside those cabinets as well. And that created kind of a little bit of a border so that people wouldn't walk through the garden. Here are some other gardens that we've planted. This one's in Charles County, Maryland, down in Southern Maryland. This one is in Washington, D.C., and they actually did it in the shape of a butterfly. And we try to make outdoor classrooms in the gardens or next to the gardens. So if you want, like I said, a garden habitat, a native garden in your backyard or in your school, please let me know so I can reach out to your teachers and your principals and your organizations to plant some more native milkweed and native pollinator nectar flowers. This is a garden that we planted in Texas with 5 Rotary clubs helped pay for the garden. And we planted it at a nursing home. It was actually a retirement village. And this is the assisted living building right here, where a lot of people rolled out in their wheelchairs to watch us and help us. And also patients could see the garden from their windows if they were stuck in bed. So we can plant gardens anywhere. And this is just a list of some of the native plants that we can plant to attract butterflies and moths and hummingbirds and bees and all the different pollinators, beetles, bats, all the different pollinators that we're looking for. And this is what happens when you plant a native garden. You can go out with your clipboard and your notes and measure how large the milkweed is. This milkweed plant here on the left is called common milkweed or Asclepias syriaca, and it has a big softball-sized pink flower on top that smells wonderful. And it takes a special bumblebee to a special bee to pollinate this flower, because if you can see here, the bee is pulling out sacks of honey, not just powder pollen, but actually sacks of pollen that it's pulling out, not honey, but pollen it's pulling out. And it's going to make honey out of that, or it's going to pollinate other plants with it. And this plant down here is called butterfly weed. And the butterfly weed is orange, and it only gets to be about 2 feet tall, whereas the common milkweed can get to be at least 6 feet tall. And here I'm showing you the milkweed again. This is common milkweed filled with caterpillars, and it's the only food that the monarch caterpillars will eat. So we need milkweed to save the monarch butterfly. We've been putting little libraries in our gardens lately, and then different members of the Rotary Club go around every month and fill them up with books. So if you would like to put a little library in your monarch garden at the Natural History Society, we can do that. And you can see here children releasing monarchs. That's what we do in September. We try to raise them inside so that students can see the whole process of the monarch migration or the monarch metamorphosis, and then they release them so they can fly to Mexico. So the first 4 generations of monarchs only live 30 days, long enough to migrate 50 miles on the pathway of 3,000 miles to Mexico to lay their eggs and grow the next generation. But the last generation that's here in September, we call it the Methuselah generation, because that monarch is going to live probably 4 to 6 months, fly all the way to Mexico, or at least to Texas, and then their great-grandchildren are going to come back in the spring. And this is the migration path that they take. And we have some Western monarchs that go to California for the winter, but they do interbreed with the Eastern monarchs that are east of the Rocky Mountains. But you can see they all go into Texas, and then from Texas, usually right into Mexico. Well, I guess some may go directly from California. And these are the Oyamel fir trees that the monarchs go to when they arrive in Mexico. They're high up in the volcanic mountains. And you can see scientists here who are doing some science. This orange cluster here looks like orange trees, but really it's monarch butterflies all clustered together very tightly, and it looks like the trees are orange. And that's how they measure them. They measure the circumference or the circle around that orange spot to know how many monarchs come to Mexico every year, to know whether they're increasing or decreasing in the numbers. In Mexico, we have habitat loss that's caused by illegal logging and also some avocado farming. Now, illegal logging, there's 2 sides to the story, because it's not just companies coming in and plowing the land, but it's individual fathers going out and chopping down enough wood to bring home to cook food for the week, because everyone has these wood cooking stoves in their homes, and that's how they heat their tortillas and make their food. So we have to come up with another way for them to cook food without using the wood that's in the forest that the monarchs need. So we're working on that with students in Mexico. We have 6 schools right now in Michoacan, which is near one of the monarch habitats. And these students all have tree nurseries, and they go up into the forest and they replant the trees that they've grown during the year. And they do this year over year over year, and we hope that they are making a difference. Here they are again. Looks like the middle school. So the elementary school, middle school, and high school all do the tree nurseries. And again, this is where they go, high up in the volcanic mountains. It's about 10,000 feet high. On very steep slopes are these fir trees that the monarchs find each year. This is what it looks like when they're all hovered close together. You can see on the right. And when the sun comes out, then they just flutter and fly. And then when they get cold, they go close again together for warmth and overnight in the trees. Our program has an education component to it. So if we put a monarch butterfly garden in your school, the teachers will receive a curriculum for the right grade level. And we also educate the teachers in a teacher workshop. Parents are allowed to attend this teacher workshop. Anyone is allowed to attend it. Anyone who wants to learn more about having monarch butterflies and saving them. We run a trip every February to the Monarch Sanctuary in Mexico. If anybody is interested in going on the trip with us, they can reach out and let me know, and I'll put you on the list. And each year you can let us know if you want to go. And the trip has been canceled the last 2 years, so I have not seen the monarchs myself in Mexico. I'm hoping to go actually in October on another trip, but I'm hoping to see them for the first time. And I'm sure I'll have wonderful things to tell you when I come back. We have an organization called Operation Pollination, and anybody can sign the Operation Pollination Pledge to say that they will do something to help support the monarchs. So you just go to operationpollination.net. You can print out a pledge for your Girl Scout troop or your school or your homeschool network, and create a pollinator pledge, and then send it to me, and it'll get logged. And we actually have created a website now called iRotary, and we are logging all of the trees that we're planting and all of the pollinator plants that we're planting across the world, so that we can start collecting data, you know, for helping with citizen science research. And this is a picture of your supermarket, and this is what it could look like if we lose our pollinators, because more than 85% of our plants and fruits and vegetables that we eat have to be pollinated by birds and bees and butterflies. And so we all need to work on creating spaces for these pollinators to live and breed and eat and grow, because otherwise we're not going to have delicious tasting fruits and vegetables. Think about the difference between a tomato that's grown in Maryland in the ground and the tomatoes you eat the rest of the year from the grocery store. They just don't taste as good as the rich tomatoes, you know, that are pollinated and that are, you know, infused with the sun. They just don't, they taste better than when they're grown inside an indoor greenhouse or wherever they grow them. I'm not sure. We've started to do some art classes with Art with a Heart. So these are monarch trivets that we made, trivets that can use to hold hot pots, or some of us are putting them in our gardens, our monarch gardens. So if you want to do art with us, every month now I do an art fundraiser, and I'd love to have you participate. Are milkweed plants deer resistant? Yes, they are. So if you have trouble with deer coming in your backyard and eating all of your plants, just plant milkweed and they'll go to your neighbor's garden. And these are just some budgets for some of the different schools that I've done gardens for. So I did put in the chat that if you'd like me to send you my presentation, I'm happy to send it and you can look at it and get more information. This is a sign that I created to put in the garden to let people know that it's a no mow zone and it's no pesticide zone. And this is, you know, what the life cycle looks like of the monarch butterfly and how many days it takes. So there's a lot of information here. All right, so here's another quiz. Who knows whether this one is a male or a female? Anybody new?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Female. Everybody's paying attention today. Okay, so I want to thank you for listening to my presentation, and I'll stop sharing now so that you can ask me questions. please follow me on social media. Just go to Monarch Sister Schools on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook and follow us so you can see where we're putting in gardens and where I always have free seeds for people. So I put all that stuff on social media, and you can always connect with me if you need plants or seeds or anything else. So thank you.
No, thank you, Mary Ann. This was great. If we can unshare and come back together.
Okay.
I know that, and I'm sure that folks will have some
Here we go.
questions. I'll keep a spotlight on you. All right.
Oh, I see lots of good comments in the chat.
Yeah, Rose just wrote that her email down there. She wants to get a copy of your presentation.
Yep.
Tina asked, can you talk about some of the diseases of the monarch?
So the main disease is called OE, and don't ask me to say what that word is. Maybe someone can say it, but not me. Anyway, mainly that happens when people plant tropical milkweed, and they do it a lot in the South where it's warm enough to live all year long. And we don't usually have that problem here because our milkweed dies down in the wintertime and then fresh milkweed comes up. But if OE is determined, it can spread by a butterfly from plant to plant, from garden to garden. So we have to be careful about that one disease. The other things, oh, look, somebody put the actual spelling in there, but I don't know how to say it. Does anyone know how to pronounce that? Any of my smart girls there on our Zoom tonight? I know there's a lot of smart Girl Scouts on with us. Anyway,
I'm not going to even try it.
Yeah, I don't try it either. It took me a long time to be able to say milkweed, the science name, Asclepias syriaca. I had to practice that for a long time. Anyway, it's not so much diseases that hurt the monarchs, it's the loss of habitat, the loss of milkweed. If they can't find milkweed to lay their eggs on, and for the caterpillars, enough milkweed for the caterpillars to eat, that's the problem. And then there's lots of predators. So birds need about 6,000 caterpillars to feed one baby bird's nest. So they need caterpillars. So there's, a lot of those caterpillars are monarchs. And there is a fly that, can put a stinger into the caterpillar, and that causes a disease inside the caterpillar, and the monarch is deformed when it, when it comes up. So there are a lot of predators on the monarch caterpillar and the monarch butterfly, but there are a few diseases as well.
Let's see, they have Kathleen asked, what do they eat when they're in Mexico?
So monarchs eat the same thing when they're in Mexico as they eat when they're in the United States and Canada. They only eat milkweed if they are caterpillars, if they're monarch caterpillars. And if they are butterflies, then they eat the nectar from native plants. So they need native plants all along the migration. So native to the Chesapeake Bay when they're here. When they get to Texas, they need the native milkweed and the native nectar plants in Texas. And then in Mexico, they need the native milkweed and nectar plants. And common milkweed is native everywhere.
So I have a question. I've tried to plant milkweed seeds in the ground and nothing happens, and I failed.
So it's very hard. It's not you. It's very hard to grow milkweed from seed. People think that, oh, the wind blows those seeds and it creates lots of milkweed. The milkweed really grows by putting down a long tap root into the ground, and then it puts runners out. And those runners are going to help your milkweed grow from 1 plant to 10 plants to 20 plants and really flourish. And also butterfly weed doesn't spread very much. So if you plant one butterfly weed plant, you'll always have one butterfly weed plant. It might get a little bigger, but the common milkweed and the swamp milkweed spread. The common milkweed will spread much better than the swamp milkweed. So the way you do it is you have to stratify those seeds. And I actually have some stratifying on my well, I put them in the refrigerator for 60 days in wet play sand. Then I put those seeds on a wet paper towel in a used plastic container from the grocery store that I got lettuce in, like one of the tall ones, the bib lettuce. And then the seeds will start to germinate in the sun. If you have a heated radiator underneath, it helps too. But when we plant a garden, we try to do it from plants that are quart size or gallon size, get them watered well over the summer. After the first year, they'll come back and they'll take all of Mother Nature's, wind and water and snow, and everything will be fine. But the first year, you really want to put healthy plants in your garden and get it established. And after that, you can divide them and separate them, and they'll spread and everything will be wonderful.
So how long does it take to get it from doing it all at your house and the stratification and all of that to getting it to where it's quart size?
It takes a year because I've got them popping up out of the seeds now, germinating in the windowsill. They're still not strong enough for me to move to dirt. When I can move them to dirt, I will, and then they'll become plug size, right? And then probably it'll take at least a good month in the hot summer for them to get big enough to be a quart size. So, one year from getting the seeds off the plants, keeping them in the refrigerator for 60 days, and then planting them in March or April when it's warm enough to put them in the windowsill. By September, they're big enough to plant, but that's the end of the season. But you can plant them and they'll come back for next year. I have lots of seeds if anybody wants to practice.
Can milkweed plants that are established be cut or separated or dug up and moved?
Dug up and moved. Yeah, you can't really cut them and have them grow from the cut. You need the root. So you just stick your shovel down, cut up some of the root, make sure you get the root with it, and plant that root, and they'll come back from the root.
Let's see, Kathleen asked, can milkweed be grown in a 5-gallon planter and stay in the planter?
If the planter is very deep, get a tall planter, because remember I said it puts down tall, long taproot. Probably you don't want to do common milkweed. You want to do butterfly weed in the planter, because that's the shortest one.
Rose asked, where could she get adult milkweed plants in Maryland?
So you can get them from a couple different native nurseries, or you can get them from me. So I buy them from Herring Run Nursery. I buy them from Chesapeake Natives. Sometimes I get them from Babaco's and Kavanaugh, but they only sell to the trade. So when I'm doing a school, though, I can get 100 plants from the bigger nurseries. But you can buy directly from Chesapeake Natives down in PG County. You can buy from Herring Run. And because I plant enough gardens in schools every year, I usually have extra plants that you can get from me in Hamilton. I live in Baltimore City, not far from the Natural History Society. And if we wanted to do a plant sale there this year, we could do one. I could collect all the plants and do it as a fundraiser for Natural History Society.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Tina says she's grown Gomphocarpus physocarpus, hairy ball milkweed tree.
The
cats love it. And have you heard of it?
So I have not heard of it, but this weekend I'll be at a Rotary District conference with the botanist who helped me plant the first butterfly garden 9 years ago here in Baltimore City. And he's my expert. So I will find out from him if that's native for us here and if we should be planting it. And I don't think it is good for the monarch. I'll see what it is good for.
I've used that every year for the past 3 years.
Used it for what?
I plant it. It's an annual here. It's
it's
a perennial in the southern states,
Well,
and the caterpillars love it. They go to it. I mean, the butterflies lay their eggs on it.
Well, I don't think so because Okay, maybe.
I would like to find out
Yeah.
if I'm harming them from it.
Yeah, let me find out, because that could be one of the ones that should only be grown in a tropical environment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's when you can get OE very easily. So that's, we want to make
Mm.
sure that we only plant native plants to this Chesapeake Bay region, because then it's going to bring the insects and the native, the native bugs and birds that we want. Otherwise, we'll get invasive birds and invasive bugs, and, we'll have problems.
Yeah,
So
if you would find that out for me, I'd appreciate it. You've got my
I
email.
will.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've got my email.
Wonderful, wonderful. I will
Thank you.
definitely give an answer to you and Bronwyn, so she can let everyone know in the club the answer to
Okay.
that.
Okay, thank
Or
you.
even everyone on the call we can reach out to. Any other big questions? Any comments on something you saw in the presentation that you didn't know before?
Well, you do these in people's backyards too? I don't.
Yes. Yes, I do. I will help anybody who wants to plant native plants and take away some of their grass and help the insects in Maryland or wherever you live, if I can get
And
there.
how many schools have you worked with, or other organizations, other locales? How many gardens have you put in?
So I put in one garden a year for the last 10 years, but last year I really went gung-ho and put in 33 gardens in Baltimore City and Baltimore County mostly. So about 28 in those two areas. And then the other ones were in Texas, South Carolina, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, DC, Virginia. So, but the majority right here in our own backyard.
And the teacher training that you do, is that once a year? Is that per school that you work with? Because we host teacher trainings at the Natural History Society, and would love to be the host site for a workshop.
Okay, we can talk about that. We do the teacher training in September. Last year we did it at Silburn Arboretum, and we wanted to do it hybrid so people, out of state could participate. And we had trouble with all of the Wi-Fi. They have the whole setup in their in one of their classrooms, but then they don't have Wi-Fi there. So you can't really do a hybrid thing if you don't have Wi-Fi. So it was complicated. So your location may be the best one for us to hold it at next year. And I'd like to do it hybrid and record it so that it can be available to teachers and parents all through the year, whenever they're ready to study.
Yeah, we definitely have. We've been investing in the technology and the cameras to do the hybrid at the society, because everybody wants both ways. So we've been practicing with it, and it's been we're getting pretty good.
All right, well, let's pick a Saturday in September when we can do that. So you give me the Saturday that's best for you for the center, and we'll make it happen. And also give me a date between now and July, when we can plant a butterfly garden. We can do one that's 100 square feet, which is is about 10 by 10.
Right.
And
so you said it has to be, you put it in before July?
Well, I put them in last year all the way up until I think we were planting in August. But if you put in healthy plants, even if they're small, the monarchs will find them. They'll find the milkweed. But if we could get it in a month before September, you've got a little chance for them to grow and get established.
And could you tell us a little bit more about your art fundraisers that you do for for the organization? Sure. How do people find out about them?
Just me. I send it out in an email blast, like constant contact, and then I put it on social media. And today I visited 2 breweries down in the city. I visited Checker Spot and Peabody Brewery, and they said they would host the next one for me. So the next art fundraiser is going to be May 17th. It's a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, and it's going to be at Peabody Brewery. And we hope that lots of people will come and watch, even if they don't want to do the activity. But we're going to do tree bling. or they're called flashies, but it's going to be a long nylon string, and it will have mirrors on both sides. I have one. I'm looking around to see where it is. It's probably hanging up in my kitchen, but it'll have mirrors on both sides of the string. And then on the bottom, it'll have a shell. And inside the shell, I'm going to put a picture of a monarch and then decoupage it. And you can put a picture of anything you want inside the shell. So that's what we're doing May 17th. So if you follow me on social media or you reach out to me by email, I'll send you the link to sign up for it. And invite your friends, invite your Girl Scout troop. You know, everybody come out and we'll have a fun evening, and we'll raise a little money for Art with a Heart and also for Monarch Sister Schools.
So,
That's smart.
Marianne, can you put that information on the Lep Club Facebook page and send it to me, and I can also send it out to the greater, group.
Let me figure out if I've ever put anything on the Lep Club Facebook page, but I should definitely be doing that. I should at least be tagging it when I do things,
Yep.
right? Okay. Yep, I'll do that. And if you want to do an Art with a Heart fundraiser at the Natural History Society, we can do one there as well. And then we'll
All right.
raise money, for you and for Monarch Sister Schools together.
Yep, that sounds like a great idea. There's so many ideas, Marianne. I love it.
Yeah.
And I hope that some of y'all on the call today, I see that Kathleen wants to help with the garden at the museum. Becca's all for a plant sale or maybe a plant swap. And so, and hopefully maybe Tina wants you to go to Delaware to help her. So
Okay.
you got some great leads here, and you and I will continue to talk.
Wonderful. And I'm hoping all these strains of COVID and the flu will go away
Yeah.
so we can get together. But if not, let's all just wear our masks and get together.
Yep. So put it on your calendar for the 4th. Oh, I'm sorry. It would be May 25th. I mean, next month is May. I'm going ahead of myself. So
Yep.
May 25th is the next meeting. We're going to be in person, and June will be in person as well. That would be June 22nd. So stay tuned. Information about that will be coming out soon. But I hope we'll see you all in person. We'll also have hybrid options for those who can't attend in person. And thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Hope to see you as well at some of our upcoming programs. I'm always available if you need to email or call me with any questions or concerns. So stay well, stay curious, and plant some milkweed.
Yes.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Bye. Good
tuning in.
night.
Thanks for
Thank
tuning
you.
in. I can't wait to see everybody in person at another event. And I can't wait to get to Hershey Museum. I had a conflict and I couldn't go, but I want to go see that butterfly place too.
Yeah, people had a great time.